People are like, oh, I lack focus, but what are you focusing on, right? And I think like a lot of people don't even know that answer. They don't even know that answer. I think that's so profound, just that. And then also something you just said that's so powerful is like the idea of scheduling in, feeling the day and feeling alive and enjoying the day. I think that is big. No one thinks to schedule those things in. They only think to schedule in all the things that take them away from from feeling the day, right? And then their whole thing is packed. And one more thing, the idea of, can you live as if everything is, okay?
Our week's theme this week, Jamie, has been how to increase focus and discipline and drive, especially when it's hard. What's something that you have found as you've been launching Believe It that helped you with the focus? Because it's so much work.
It's so much work. I mean, for me, I always try to bring it back to why am I doing what I'm doing, right? Like the bigger thing that's not about me. Also, you and I are both, and by the way, most everyone on this morning show with us live, I think you coined this phrase. What did you say? Personal growth, personal development, personal growth, dorks, or personal, like geeking out on personal development. I've gotten so many messages about that. People are like, I'm a personal growth. I love to geek out on that stuff too. And I, have loved this stuff my whole life. So I do it for myself and my downtime. I love it. And on the topic of focus, this morning, all alone in my hotel room, it's day 17. I've been in this hotel room doing the event because I came out a week early to prep for the event and then the book launch stuff. And so I was in here reading actually quotes this morning about focus. And one of them that I read, just going to share with everybody. I just thought it was so powerful, right? Because I just had this big thing happen. Getting the New York Times bestseller list. So just to give I guess, Brendan, let me just go there, because you and I just kind of peel back the curtain and let everyone in on this Growth Day morning show. And so what happened last night was I got this big phone call, and then it turned into a Zoom, and all of the people from the publisher and Simon & Schuster and everyone was on this big Zoom cheersing. Everyone's excited. And then right away comes up talk about book number 2. And, right. I know. And then I won't even say who called me. Okay. How do I not get in trouble? Okay. A couple people then called me after and they're like, and then the next book. And I'm just like, whoa. And I just want to bring this up for a reason, because I always talk about our own growth and our own growth journey. I am making the decision right now to focus on not doing this to myself again, meaning so many times, right? So many times we have a win in the day, and maybe that win is that we went on our morning walk. Maybe that win is that, but then it's so easy for our own selves or other people to be like, well, what about this, or what's next, or what, right? And I did that to myself for a decade. Like in the decade of building my company, for so many years we had no success and no money and no traction. But when we finally started getting it, and we finally started getting big wins and all these things, and the beauty industry that always discounted me all of a sudden was giving me all these awards, and all this stuff was happening. And I never stopped to appreciate it and feel it and celebrate it. It was always like, oh, but what about this and what about that? And I just think that it applies to our lives every single day when it comes to focus, is that it's so easy and other people will do this to us, right? They'll say, oh, but what's next? And, oh, you got that? Well, what about that, right? And then all of a sudden, before we know it, we're not even able to feel the day. We're just thinking about the things that, we can still keep going for, or that help other people more, or whatever it is. And we end up feeling not enough where we're at with what we have. And I just think that focusing on the victories too is really important, and sometimes the victory is just not eating the Oreos. You know what I mean? Like that's a victory. Like picking up the berries when you don't want them. Like if you're blessed enough to have berries, and then being like, wow, I'm blessed to have berries, right? Like that's a victory. But how many times are we just like there's so much going on that we end up focusing on what we don't have. And I just had this, you know, you and I both, I think, are really sharing with everyone in connection and community on this show, not just the things we've learned and the things we teach and the things we coach others on. Like, I've had the blessing of mentoring now so many entrepreneurs and so many women. And yeah, we teach all those things too. But also what I love is we really go there and in addition to teaching stuff, we really go there and share what's actually going on in our own lives. And I just want to share that with everyone in the community today, because maybe somebody needs to hear this too. Is last night I had a moment of, oh wait, everyone else has already moved on. And like, they're like, okay, what's next? Book number 2. I'm like, whoa, like, I'm intentionally deciding right now, I'm not doing a book number 2 at this moment. I'm intentionally deciding, how can I inspire and impact and be in this moment and connect with real human beings who need the stories in this book, who need hope and inspiration? How can I show up and serve right now and be grateful where I'm at and feel the moment? And so it was a big moment of realization about focus last night. And I just want to share that because I think I've failed to do that for a number of years. And
always that next thing, chasing that next thing is so exhausting. And it also, I'll share with this because I know those calls. I've been blessed to have 6 of them in my career now. And let me share the biggest mistake of all of it is that what happens is people focus on the blips. They're like, oh, I got this thing. I mentored one woman one time who she got on the Today Show, and everyone in her life was like, oh my God, you got on Today Show. You did it. Yes, celebrate victory today. And she's like, that's an appearance. That's a start. She was focused on the mission. So the show was the blip, right? Everyone sees the blip, celebrates the victory, celebrates the blip. But to make something real, you have to choose in your life, okay, am I going to focus on those little blips and that's done, that's completion, next thing, next product, next thing, or am I going to make a blockbuster? That's the thing. The thing about focus too is it's not just about not going on the next thing because it feels terrible, which it does, and going on the next thing too fast because you don't get to celebrate it. It's also, if you just bounce from project to project to project, you never take anything deep. It doesn't form roots. It doesn't become a thing ingrained in people's lives. It's like Apple didn't need to make 4,000 products. It was like, we're gonna make 5 and we're gonna dominate with these 5. It's like we're gonna stick to the things and spend time on them to cultivate them, to grow them. Books are like that. Yeah, I'm still promoting High Performance Habits. It came out 3.5 years ago. And it's still selling equally as good because I still perpetuate the book and I tell the story in the emails and our Facebook groups and everything. I think it's, if you've got something and it's working, sometimes it's like, let's double down on that. Let's grow that. Let's make that the thing instead of, oh, let's go plant 7 more fields right now. It's like, let's cultivate this field and let's heal this field. Let's be part of it. Let's grow something we're proud of and set roots on something. I feel like we live in a very distracted next society and no one's building roots. So that's why we lack a society that has any significant missions, any significant movements, because no one sits with it and cultivates it. And I think that's important for branding. I think it's important for books. I think it's important for all of you who are trying to do something, get your health right. You don't get to go to the gym one time and be like, oh, I guess I'll try the next thing. It's like, you got to stay on the thing. You got to cultivate the thing.
Yeah. You know, so one of the quotes I was reading this morning, just because I'm sort of a dork like that, this is what I do every day, forever, right? Poetry, read quotes, all that stuff. I just love it so much. And anyways, I came across this quote this morning from Oprah, who said, when we focus on what we have, we get more. And when we focus on what we don't have, we never have enough. And I just thought it was so powerful too around this idea of focus. You know what I mean? For this week when I read it this morning, because it is so easy. It is so easy to focus on what we don't have yet or what isn't, you know, all those things.
What we haven't done yet or achieved yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you never achieve enough. You never have enough. You never, right? And someone like her, who from the outside seems to have everything, her whole thing is when you focus on what you have more. And I think that is just such a powerful thing.
She's
because
an example for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
She did a show
Yeah.
for 20 years. She didn't do a million things. She did a show for 20 years. Like, that's
Yeah.
unbelievable discipline and dedication.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think, on the topic of focus, I wanted to jump in something today that I think people will resonate with, which was for this idea of focusing on what you have and focusing on what you have achieved. I think one great way to look at it too is sometimes when you're just going really strong, and you don't feel the day, you don't feel victory, you don't feel, in alignment, or the things are going, perfectly. I just remind you one great thing. Everyone goes, yeah, I need more focus. And I say, well, what are you focusing on? What is the discipline you are building? And one thing I think that most people don't focus on enough is their enjoyment of life. Like, you have to build in moments throughout the day to feel the day. You have to build in moments throughout the day, even when everything else is in chaos or not perfect, to still experience life and feel the day. So it's like your morning walk, or, Denise and I, we just took our morning walk, and then afterwards I jumped in the ocean and just spent 5 minutes floating like a dumb turtle there, just like, oh, this is great. And just
today?
Yeah. Even though I have, 400 emails I get personally today that none of my 200 plus team members can answer. So the 400 that come to me every day, and the 78 SMS texts I get every day. So 80 texts a day, 400 emails a day for a decade. I don't wake up in the morning like, oh my God, I got to get to those. I don't go throughout the day. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in lack because I haven't responded to all of those, and I don't have inbox 0. I'm like, okay, what's important? I want to make sure that even though I have tasks, even though I have lots of things to do, am I focused and disciplined throughout the day to enjoy little moments? Sometimes that's like, hey, go pet the cat. Sometimes that's take your walk. Sometimes that's your gym time. That is your lifetime. Sometimes it's your reading with your book and your green tea. Sometimes it's, calling your mama. Sometimes, whatever it is, if you don't build those in, the email, the text, the social media, the distractions from everybody else throwing their mission and their thing at you eats you alive. And all of a sudden you're not in the ocean, or all of a sudden you're not calling your mama, or all of a sudden you're not in the gym. And it's easy to let other things encroach. And so what I wanted to share today was like, hey, make sure that as you're hustling, you're all grit and you're working so hard, please make sure your focus and discipline is also to make sure you build life into each day. Building it all for, unless you're able to have more freedom each day and have more fulfillment each day. What's all the hustle and the grit and all that stuff for? If at some point you're not going to be a point where you enjoy the day more, but what if you could teach yourself now to enjoy the day as if you had what you needed? I think that is what I learned a lot from Taoism is, can I enjoy the day as if I already had everything? Can I enjoy the day as if I already was worth it? As if I already was in that state of bliss. Like if the bank account was full, the kids were all, dressed and clothed and happy. Like everybody was happy with you, and you had all sorts of Shangri-La moments in your life. Could you not just create that right now? Could you not create that 3 or 4 times throughout the day? Maybe you just visualize, you connecting with source, and you notice that you're full. Like, God's got you. You're good. Like, God made you unique and beautiful and strong and still here and gave you breath this morning. Can you sit with that without thinking my email, or without thinking that promotion? That's what I found, that the high performers I admire, they've figured out how to build that in. And it's inspired me. There was plenty of times in my life I didn't do enough of that. And I was like, oh, there must be a better way. Because going weeks without feeling life, or months without taking a breath, that's not life. Like, why? So I love that Jamie's been talking very openly. She's been doing great this time around, even though she's worked harder than any of us will ever know. I think it's important to see us trying. Okay, yeah. See it trying. We all have lots to go, and we have lots to do, and we built billion-dollar businesses. The question is, can we still find those moments of sanity and joy in life within the moment?
So many things you just said are so powerful, but I think, well, first of all, just going way back, People are like, oh, I lack focus, but what are you focusing on? Right. And I think like a lot of people don't even know that answer. They don't even know that answer. I think that's so profound. Just that. And then also something you just said that's so powerful is like the idea of scheduling in, feeling the day and feeling alive and enjoying the day. I think that is big. No one thinks to schedule those things in. They only think to schedule in all the things that take them away from from feeling the day, right? And then their whole thing is packed. And one more thing, the idea of, can you live as if everything is, okay? I think that's huge, because if we don't figure out how to do that now, there's those famous words that you accomplish a big thing, you finally get that, but it never changes anything because you take you with you, right? Yeah. Right? You take you with you no matter what ends up happening, no matter how full your bank account gets, no matter what book you write or what job you get or what victory your kids have or whatever it is, you still take you with you, right? Those famous words. And so getting you right, so important, right? From where we're at right now. I think that's so huge. I think that's really huge.
So huge. And I'll give it a last metaphor and example for people. I've been coaching a lot of CEOs over the last decade of my life. And I worked with one CEO I remember went in, who I learned this, I kind of learned that in corporate America, you know what people fear in corporate America? An empty calendar. They're terrified. If they have a spot on their calendar, they feel guilty, like, oh, I need to fill that with a meeting. And so, yes, I'll take every meeting you throw by me. They feel like they just have to be, they feel like productivity is every block of time scheduled in some meeting with some people. And I was coaching this one executive one time, and we looked at his calendar. It was the first thing I do with the client. I want to see their calendar. I want to see their last 6 months of a calendar. It tells me so much. And it was just, meeting. And I just looked at it. And this was the first day meeting this executive. And I looked at the calendar, I go, you're secretly miserable inside, aren't you? And I don't think anyone had ever said that. And he was like, what? And I said, there's not a moment in here from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. that's not scheduled. And I'm the schedule yourself. I'm the high performance planner guy.
Yeah, you are.
I love scheduling, but it's blocks of time that show clear progress towards the needle moving activities that matter. Most people can wipe out half the meetings in their week with absolutely no impact whatsoever on their performance or their productivity in their work. Half the meetings, half. And so this guy, we had to cut out 90%. And that made the business better. It made him happier. It made his teams happier because you didn't have a grumpy bear there all day. Suddenly it was like, oh, now there's a creative force back in. And so I feel like some of you've scheduled yourself and the kids and the projects and the dreams 24/7, but there's no take a walk at the park. There's no read a book. There's no meditate. There's no gym. There's no like life outside of those things. And there will never be life outside of those things until you build them in. Like everyone says, what should I focus on? I'm like, have you ever focused on creating lots of blocks of free time? I mean, where's the block of free time that you've been focused on building? I just feel like if we're going to focus on anything, let's focus on building a great life, or to the extent that we can. Because yes, we got to make the money and we got to launch the projects and we got to do the work. But could we focus on building a greater lifestyle? No matter what your income is, no matter how young the kids are, no matter how much the business is growing or how many team, could you still just give a few minutes or even hour a week thinking of how to build more goodness into your life? I think that's worth the focus. And I've learned people don't focus on that. They're focused on everything else, but building life into life. What I really believe this theme of this week, which is you becoming more focused and disciplined, I think that's an urgent conversation. Like I'm taking this so seriously with my clients where just the other day I was telling a bunch of clients, hey, you got to knock down your meetings from hour long to 30 minutes. You've got to make sure everything you are doing is moving the needle. You've got to turn out all the noise. You don't have to consume everything everybody sends you. You don't have to watch every link, watch every video, just unless you had it on your learning map,
or on your inspiration map, just be careful of everyone sending everything. It's so much right now. I really believe 2021 belongs to the most focused and disciplined.
Oh, 2021 belongs to the most focused and disciplined. So
Yeah,
good.
I'm so passionate about that right now. So I hope you all will take a minute while we're here today on the Growth Day Morning Show and just be like, okay, it's always fun with Jamie and Brendan, but we also hope it's just a little gut check every day, to a little more self-awareness, a little bit more mindfulness, bring a little more joy and intention to your day, because you deserve to feel great. But if you are being pulled in 1,000 directions that you said yes to, or I promise you that steals so much of your time.
Yeah.
And time is life. Time is life. And I'm saying this particularly because I struggled with it yesterday. So this is not me being the high performance guy who has everything locked down. It's like, dang it, yesterday, anyone lose maybe like an hour yesterday to distraction or to something that was not on your radar, but somebody put it on your radar?
Yeah.
Well, that every day can become extremely dangerous to your joy of life.
Yeah.
You know, that's like every day for a month. If that happened, that means you lost a full work week, basically lost a full work week. So just be attentive. That means you did work 3 weeks, but you were there for 4. And so it's something to think about.
Yeah. And on that, I love when you do the calculation. Actually, I'm going to ask you to share that again in a second, because I think that's so powerful when we actually put in perspective how much time, even just losing a little bit of time, numbing out, scrolling Instagram or whatever it is, and what that, will you share actually? Then I have one thought I want to share about Zoom and the impact Zoom is having on so many of our lives in terms of focus, in terms of distraction, in terms of time. But one of the things that you share that's so powerful is just simple math, that it's easy for us to, you know how on a credit card, everyone like gets their first credit card and they think like, oh, I've barely spent anything. And then all of a sudden they get a bill and they're like, what? Right. And we start to learn that ability to sort of like subconsciously do math of what we're spending and what we can expect that bill to come in at. I mean, what we haven't mastered is, oh, we're in this brand new social media world. And I mean, listen, the Growth Day Morning Show, now that is worth the time. But
well, yeah, the question is, does it inspire you? Does it give you perspective? Does it help you enjoy the day? I think no one should ever call personal development a waste of time.
No.
Because what it is it's time regrooving and rewiring your brain. So when the real struggle comes up, the voice of strength and confidence and positivity and optimism and readiness and joy and gratitude is so ingrained in there that it mows over the crappy self-talk.
That's so true. Totally. And one of the big things I've been realizing, especially in the process of launching my book, which is out in 12 days, but I'm hearing from so many people now coming into the book group and all the stuff, right? And they're saying, I just feel like I've let my light dim. I feel like this last year has been so hard that I don't even know if I still have a light inside me. I'm like, oh, wow, we're in a moment in time where it's so important now more than ever, I would say, because people are tired, they're feeling powerlessness, they have so much uncertainty in their life. And I think bringing something like this, and thank you so much, Brendan, for doing this, and bringing something like Growth Day, but also the Growth Day Morning Show, where, you know, even people that just have 10 minutes or 30 minutes in the morning and just need to reignite their light. That is my hope and prayer for this show, is that everyone learns to dream again, to hope again, to feel inspired again, and to invest in themselves again, right? Because it's like that's how we also pour into everyone else. And so, yeah, I'm so excited and proud to be part of the show, and also just honored. Everyone's time is so precious. The blessing of all of our times together right now. I think it's really powerful. So just want to say thank you, Brendan, for doing Growth Day, and also for this show, that we do every day. We're week 5 now, week 5 of doing this every day.
Wow. And we it's so funny. In 5 weeks, we've cried together about memories in our lives. We've talked about the struggles we face in just believing in ourselves and staying motivated and dealing with all this energy around the world we've talked about how to find our confidence again. We've talked about having vision, and we're having these conversations every day. And for those who are parents, or those of you lead your teams, those who are entrepreneurs, think about how important it is that you are imparting these key messages to your teams: vision, confidence, belief, readiness, joy, harmony, balance, openness, good communication. These are the values of personal development. And when we talk about feeling more alive and being more mindful, when we talk about feeling more connected and caring for other people, when we talk about finding our meaningful pursuits again, we're putting life back into people. We are putting hope back into people. We are putting readiness back into people. You talk about personal development. We do the Growth Day Morning Show because if you can start the morning with a foundation of personal development, you look at your struggles throughout the day differently. You go, you know what? I am strong enough for this. Or you know what? I will be resilient through this. When you start with the foundation of personal development, every struggle, every setback, every sadness has now perspective. You go, I am stronger. Oh, I heard someone go through this and they came out on the other side just fine. Oh, look, we have thousands of people every morning. You guys type in chat where you're coming from right now.
Yes.
Thousands of people from all over the world watch this. Some 50,000 people watches the replays. It's like we have this worldwide community in Growth Day. And it's people coming together who believe in the idea that it's not always just, some new inspiration you need. It's that you need a foundation. Mm. You need a foundation of good things busting into your ears, of a foundation of a community of people who are like you, who really want to achieve, who really want to be great parents, who want to be great caregivers. Most people don't care about personal development because they gave up. The people who really care about personal development, they're still on the path. There's still hope. There's still a spark. They know there's another level and they love rising up to it. And they love to hear talk. They love the motivation of hearing people talk about there is another level for me and my family. There's more wealth. There's more joy. There's more impact. That's why I do personal development. This morning, I sit there. I literally, all my workout, I always listen to personal development, right? A bunch of YouTube shows, a bunch of apps I go through, a bunch of podcasts. It's 100% personal development every single morning in my workout and my morning routine, right? It's a big part of what I do when I'm in my movement. And if I didn't do that, I know I would sabotage myself. So instead of sabotaging myself throughout the day, I set myself up to win by ingraining the messages that say simple things of keep going, just do it, believe, there's other people like you, you got this. That stuff, that gets me going.
Yes, it's so good. And, I love this. A lot of people are looking for how can I add one thing into my life that helps me get back on the right track, helps me get unstuck from 2020 and all the things, or just this tough season, right? And I think even one simple habit in the morning, just that reframes your whole day. And there's people out there like, oh, I try to work out and then I just would rather sleep in and I hit the snooze button. Listen, whether it's meditation, whether it's just showing up for the Growth Day Morning Show, like if you just add the Growth Day Morning Show into your morning routine, think about the power. Think about doing that for a month or 2 months and just the impact, right, that it's going to have, because exactly that, it's carving new grooves in our brain. It's learning that resiliency. And one thing, this whole week, we have a theme every week that we talk about and share stories about and share inspirations and sometimes frameworks and sometimes, research and then sometimes goofy jokes. It's all of it. But
I have no jokes. Everyone knows. I am the joke, but I have no jokes. There's nothing funny about me.
No, I can't even handle seeing your blender anymore. I'm just going to say it. Anybody who has been if you've been part of the Growth Day Morning Show, you were here for the episode where Brendan described his morning with his blender, running by his wife, almost late to the show. If you know, right? I always say this.
You have to be a part of this community to remember that one.
If you know, you know. So many people are posting the Growth Day Morning Show. I was sharing this the other day. A lot of you are sharing this, right? Because so many people out there could really love a boost of joy, need a boost of joy and inspiration and hope and belief in themselves. And so a lot of you are sharing this, screenshotting us on Instagram or all of us together on Facebook, and you're posting it. And I was sharing this the other day that so many of you are saying, if you know, you know. Growth Day Morning Show, IYNYN. And IYK.
Oh, is that what that means?
IYK.
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, I had
I
no idea.
literally
Okay,
just
that's
almost
funny.
spelled no wrong. If you know, you know. IYK.
It is early there. It's okay. It's okay.
It is
it's
early.
Okay.
But I love that. So what I will say is so many of you guys are posting, if you know, you know about the Growth Day Morning Show. I would say the same thing about Brendan's blender. So I bet you for the next 10 years, he's going to be on stages globally, talking to millions of people. He'll probably talk about all his frameworks and his morning routines. And anytime he's going to talk about his morning routine from here on out, and when he talks about his morning smoothie,
only if you don't just stop right now. Only like if you stop right now, it's done. It was a moment. But thank you for bringing my embarrassing story to the world in perpetual motion. This is why you have friends, people, so they can make sure everyone knows the embarrassing parts of your life.
I'm never going to think of it the same again. It's going to happen forever. And if you know, you know. If you're part of the Growth Day Morning Show.
Jamie, you're in a great mood this week. I've had actually people comment on DM like, you're always bright and shiny, and you're always like, it's just like you're such a radiating just beam of joy every day. But this week there's is it because we're in week 5? Is it because you're closer to your book launch? Believe it? Is it like what do you think has caught your morning rhythm? Is it we got into the rhythm? Is it something's coming up? What's going on?
I mean, listen, we're talking about focus this week, and the truth is I'm intentionally focusing. And what I mean by that is you want the real truth. Brendan, you get the real stuff in the pre-show, right? Where yesterday I mentioned like I was almost bawling my eyes out before the morning show yesterday because, listen, a lot of us that are passionate about our projects or our dreams or our things, like I've poured more of myself into this book than anything I've ever done. I believe it's the best work of my life. I believe it's going to serve and bless so many people. As you know, I'm donating 100% of the proceeds. I'm literally just doing it to serve. But who I am, and maybe you guys can relate to that. A lot of you can relate to this in the community. When I'm going to do something, my tendency, my humanness, is to put so much pressure on myself and to want to do it with such a level of excellence. So those are my tendencies. And in this season, for the first time, because, when I built It Cosmetics, it was a 10-year journey of going 3 years of no's and constant rejection and having to get back up every time I got knocked down. And then finally starting to get yeses. And then finally starting to hire employees and build teams and create missions and create focus inside It Cosmetics, right? And lead and really learn how to lead and how do we come into a crowded industry and actually make a difference, actually have meaningful pursuits as a company, right? As a team. And went through that whole journey. I was so driven during it that I forgot to enjoy it, a lot of it. I was so passionate about what I was doing that I forgot to enjoy it. And so this week, if you want the real truth, it's 20-hour days. I have more stress this week leading up to the book launch. I haven't even announced this on social, but Brendan, I'm doing this huge launch event, which I'll invite everybody, of course, part of the Growth Day community. It's free. I have some of the most incredible, inspiring human beings on the planet that are showing up for me and for you to speak their live for free. Like it's this big thing, right? And now instead of 1,000-person team, like at It Cosmetics, I have Sarah that ran, Holly that ran, but other than that, it's pretty much, I'm trying to figure it all out. So my point is this, I have been more stressed out in this past week, or had more reasons, I should say, more things just stacking. And I'm doing it differently this time. And this is what's, I think, such a part of growth for all of us, right?
Tell us what that means, because my question was, you're in a different mood this week than even last week or the week before. So what is that then? So you're saying you're doing it differently. Like, what is it? What is it?
It's focus and what I mean. So I'm going to read you a quote I wrote down that a friend told me that sums it up exactly. And this ties into yesterday. Oh my gosh, yesterday on Growth Day, a lot of you were saying, we don't know how to lose. We were talking about how when we have losses and setbacks, we don't know how to handle them. And we were talking about discipline and focus isn't about doing everything right. It's about knowing how to handle it when things go wrong, or when we drop balls, or when we miss the appointment on our calendar, or all those things. And here's the shift in my focus that's been life-changing in a big way. Okay. So I'm in a season with all the stress where I care so much about this book launch. And yet I feel what you're talking about. I feel inspired to be present and to serve on the morning show however I can. I feel that. And my friend actually said this quote to me, Roy Vaden. I don't know if you know Roy Vaden, and he is amazing. Anyways, he said, he wants me to remember this because, you know, I talk about my intention to serve. And I know a lot of you in the community right now have an intention, a bigger who needs you on your A game today, right? To use Brendan's words, who needs you on your A game, that bigger intention. And I was talking about all the things I'm setting up for this big event happening in 12 days. I'm talking about all the things I'm doing. And yet I remembered these words. I'm here to help. I'm not here to accomplish. And when you risk with your heart leaning forward, if you're here to accomplish, there's wins and losses. But if you're here to help, there's only wins. And those words have just stuck with me. If you're here to help, there's only wins. And what that means to me is, oh, Jamie, you were up until midnight. I was up till midnight last night drafting emails for IT Cosmetics to share with their customers. All the things. Were they perfect? Was like all the things, right? But guess what? I'm not here to accomplish. I'm here to help. I know the intention of what I'm doing, and therefore it's only wins.
Intention and process. We say intention and process. Over outcome obsession. You know, it's like, okay, I'm here, I'm in the journey, I'm in the process, I'm showing up for it, I'm doing my best, I'm gonna make sure I enjoy it, I'm gonna put myself into this, but I'm also, it doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to achieve this thing, it's not about the status, the fame, the money, the sales, it's about, okay, I'm showing up for this idea, I'm showing up for this intention. It's easier to show up for a big vision and a big idea than it is for like a certain, you know, specific outcome over a period of time, so.
And also when we shift our mindset that actually like just the journey of intending to be on your A game for someone else, that's the win. It's not the outcome. It's not the outcome, right? And so that's what I'm focused on. And
so
it's
that's
really,
the shift. That's the shift for you this week.
Big shift is just really remembering that and enjoying this journey. Listen, so many of you guys I know because I read your comments, I read your stories, I read your posts, I read everything that you guys share. And I try to get through all of my DMs. I try to get through all of it. And a lot of you share this, that we have these goals and we have these dreams, but literally we're so busy, we're so overwhelmed, we're so stressed out, we're so distracted that we forget to enjoy it. We forget to feel the day. We forget to find the meaning in our pursuits, right? And I think, you know, I have failed at that so many times. And so I'm on a journey for the rest of my life of personal growth, for the rest of my life of hoping to have growth days every single day. And part of me growing is saying, how can I show up better? How can I have more joy in life and still put the goodness out into the world I want to, but don't rob the goodness from my own experience because I'm focused on the outcome, right?
Yes. You know, because here's the super downer for everybody is the outcome is life doesn't go forever. That's the truth. And it's such a good reminder. I think all personal development centers on the fact that life is short, that we're blessed to be here, that we should live it while we're here, that we should feel it while we're here. It's why I'm always saying that phrase, feel the day, feel the day. You have to, because otherwise all the days go by, you achieved a lot, but you weren't alive and aligned. So you didn't have any fulfillment or satisfaction, even though you climbed an amazing mountain. I mean, how many friends do we know? They climbed an amazing mountain and they literally are unhappy. They're literally lost. They are literally like in a place. And it's not because they're not smart. It's not because they didn't do so many things or that it's because they forgot the fundamental essence of life is to live life. And to live life encourages you to be intentional about feeling it. Otherwise, it all blurs together. I know so many people, 2020 blurred together for them, right? Other people is like, oh my God, it took forever. One of the things is like how much people actually feel and experience the day. And so some people are more sensitive to time and more sensitive to experience than other people. And what happened, unfortunately, in I really believe the last decades of media is we become desensitized to life because distraction leads to desensitization. I don't think I said that right. Distraction leads to becoming desensitized. That sounds right. Distraction leads to I know people quote me. I'm going to get this one right. Distraction leads to being desensitized. And so what happens, you're desensitized. You don't feel the day, even though you're busy. But you know, the problem is busyness also leads to being desensitized. So you have to teach yourself to feel the wins, feel the experience, feel the journey, but also not just, because sometimes people like Brendan, it feels terrible. I'm like, that's exactly why we trademarked Bring the Joy. It says, I don't feel this, I don't feel that. You bring the emotion, you bring the feeling. You don't hope that life gives you that great one day of blessings and purpose and spirituality and fulfillment and connection with God and achievement. You bring into the day the feelings and the emotions and the energy upon which you want to experience in life. And I think when we do that, that's the focus, isn't it? The focus is generating the feelings of life. And when we can do that, that's the vision. I tell people all the time, that's the vision for the feelings of your life on the daily.
And realizing that, you know, we have so much control, not full control always, but we have so much control over how we create those feelings, what we focus on, how we bring those feelings. That's huge, right? That's huge. A lot of people don't realize that. They think that feelings happen to them. And, you know, one thing you always talk about is, you know, your power plants don't have energy, they create energy. And, you know, yesterday, you know, these are the 20-hour days up until my book launch of Believe It. And yesterday around 5 p.m., I knew how much I still wanted to do that day. And I felt like I hit a wall, and I remembered those words. And this is something that I love. We talk about the power of the Growth Day Morning Show. We talk about a lot of these words and these ideas and these stories taking root, and you may not need to call on them today, but all of a sudden you're in a moment, you're like, oh yeah, this is how Brendan got through it, or this is what Jamie said happened to her, and like these stories we share together. And just yesterday around 5 p.m., I literally had so little energy left, and I had so much to do. And this is not an ad. I have nothing to do with HPX supplements at all, but I took my HPX supplements for Optimize and then I went on a walk. I literally went on a walk in my driveway, like not like for an hour because I was like, okay, I need to get some energy, right? So I tried to remember your words about power plant doesn't have energy, it creates energy. I'm like, I got to create some energy. Like I need to take ownership over this. Let me go move my body and create some energy.
I did the same thing last night.
Did you really?
I did the same thing. It was like 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. And I had a project I was working on that I wanted to give another 2 hours to. And I was just not feeling it. I said, gosh, I want to give 2 more hours to this. So you know what I'd better do? I'd better take 30 minutes to go refresh myself. So I put on my shoes, I went outside, I put on the earphones, I called my best friend from college, who we always laugh together, we have a great time together. I did a big loop, just 30-minute like speed walk, talking with my friend, quick catch up. We laughed and joked about a bunch of memories, came back in and just crushed the next 2 hours. And then felt great, felt fulfilled. I was like, okay, cool. It was like an unbelievable amount of productivity. The truth is, I didn't finish the project, but I progressed it with great energy. And so it's not always about, did you complete everything? It's, are you progressing with great energy? Because you know what? You progress with great energy enough days in a row, my friends, magic happens in your life. But it takes progress and it takes good energy. And then the magic
and
you know magic happens, then we think magic will happen, then I'll progress, then I'll achieve something about myself. No. It's like progress, good energy, magic.
And I would even argue that like the victory wasn't even that you progressed. It was that when you had those feelings, you did something about it. And you chose, right? You chose to say, let me see, let me try to take ownership and let me see, based on all the stuff I know, if I can actually create the feeling or the momentum or the, It was
a growth day moment. That's what we got to call those. It was a growth day moment because you know what it could have been? You know what it could have been? It was a growth day moment. It was a growth day decision because what it could have been, The lower impulsive myself said, most people don't work this late. You know what? I deserve to go have a big bucket of popcorn and half a bottle of wine and watch a Netflix show because, I work hard. And no, it's like, oh, but one is focus and discipline, a growth day moment. And one is just lowering myself for the vision I have. And I'm not saying, people are going to be like, oh my God, how are you saying this? I'm not saying popcorn and wine are bad. What I'm saying is when you've decided to do something and the resistance enters your body and your mind that says, quit, stop, not now. It's a difference. Notice, I am not out of alignment in my life. I am not out of well-being. I'm not out of harmony. Those things are all in place. It was a moment of decision to keep going or to quit because it would be easier, because I was tired. Right.
And you knew what you wanted to do. You knew what you wanted to do. So and similarly, just to add to something you just said, you are also so good about saying like, oh, your wife, you and Denise, we're going to have, on this day, we're going to have pina coladas and we're going to celebrate. And like you do just as much of that. Right. So it's not about being like, oh, disciplined or whatever, about just productivity. It's like, oh, it's saying, how can I have a growth moment and generate the energy that I'm hoping to show up for tonight because this project's important to me? Or
it's what we call focus and discipline. Because guess what? I was I had a clear block of time in which I was supposed to do something. But how many people know they're supposed to do something and they quit halfway in? And we're not talking about life or big. We're talking about that hour. We're talking about that moment. And that's the thing. That focus was there. I knew what I had to do. And when I didn't want to do it, I didn't quit. Resistance isn't the signal to quit. Resistance is the signal to check your commitment. Am I really committed to this? I am. So how would I have to show up? Energized. I don't feel energized. How do I get energy? Call a great friend, move my body. Great. Yeah. Call a great friend, move my body, come in and crush it. That's discipline. Discipline looks like a decision where you overcome the resistance. Discipline looks like a decision where you overcome the resistance. The fatigue or the tired or the excuse or the rationale that says, I'll do it later, because I'll do it later is where you put off all of your dreams to years and years later. And someday magically doesn't appear for you. And you're like, oh, I thought I was going to do that. And now there's regret at the end of life. I think these little moments, I think we'll coin the phrase today, growth day moments, where you overcome the defiance, overcome the resistance, overcome the ease, to just stay focused on path to what you know you should do that particular moment. Just like at a workout, you're 16 minutes in, but you scheduled 45, you're 16 minutes, and you're like, I'm just going to, no, do the 45. There's that moment where you get on that next machine or you do that next lap, or you just that one extra one gets you over the hump and you finish the 45 minutes. And you're like, okay, good job today. That was my growth day moment. That was the overcoming of the impulse for ease, because comfort and ease are not going to take you to the level. Challenge and commitment will take you to the other level.
Yeah, that's so good. And it's so easy to commit to just like watching The Bachelor and pouring wine in my coffee mug. And that's easy to commit, but it's those moments when you're like, oh, it's the hard stuff, right? And
those things I want everyone to hear. Those are fine. If it's the night to sit down and watch The Bachelor and the popcorn and the wine, I do that with my wife. I got no problem with it.
I'm so proud of you for doing that with Denise.
Yes. I worked for it.
Not to be like TMI this morning, but I told Paulo, I'm like, Paulo, so Brendan watches The Bachelor with Denise. And he hates the show so. My husband hates the show. Like if he sees it's on, it's like it's like kryptonite for Superman. He can't.
Nope. If that's my moment, if that's the time. I want everyone always hears me say these things. Thank you. Everyone hears these things. Oh, Brendan, he's so disciplined. He must be a robot. I'm like, oh no, I vacation like a champ. When it's time to vacation, it's time to vacation. When it's time to watch a movie with the family, we're watching the movie. Like when it's time to do the trip like my life, I'm so proud of the balance that I've maintained for 20 years, not because I'm so smart, because I faced my death twice. You face your death a few times, you don't have to that perspective, once it's in your body, you realize how short it is, and you take the time for yourself. You take the vacation. One thing my friend and I talked about last night was a guy's trip we're going to take this year.
Nice.
And once we all get vaccinated, it was like, okay, we're going to take this trip, and we're going to go. And so it was like, we're putting that out there, and taking these times off, these weeks off, or these moments off, or maybe it's your night off with the movie, or your night with the cheat night I mean, even The Rock does cheat nights. It's right, that's scheduled. But guess when he doesn't do his cheat night? When he's in 16 minutes of a 45-minute workout. That's when he doesn't turn to the cheat. See?
Yeah.
That's
cheat meaning his food. Cheat meaning his food. Cheat meals.
Yeah. Cheat meals. So it's like, that's what I want you to hear. Even The Rock has full nights of total off movie Cinnabons, like sushi.
Which might be my favorite part about what he does. Just to add that in.
Everyone has that. I have that as well. I'm not comparing myself to The Rock. Clearly, I have guns though. What I'm saying is, you have to realize that it's when you quit in the focused effort, when you quit in the middle of the workout, when you quit in the middle of the project, when you quit in the middle, those are the times where you're cheating greatness. You're not cheating greatness when you take a night off, or you take a vacation, or you take a spa visit, or you do your yoga. That's not bad. You schedule those things. You do those things. That's how you keep balance and joy and harmony in your life, which are completely possible. Anyone who says that balance or harmony is not possible in your life has never in their lives seriously coached another person for multiple years. They're great at making memes. They're great at social media. They're great at playing to everybody's biggest fears. But anyone who's ever said that has never been in psychology. They've never been in therapy. They've never been in the transformation space to see what is possible for people to realign themselves and to strive satisfied with alignment, with harmony. When they don't see that, when they haven't been part of that journey, what happened is they fell in their own beliefs about it. And it's confirmation bias. It is not market reality. It is not the research. It is incredibly possible to strive to the highest levels in the world with full life satisfaction, deeply meaningful relationships, a healthy body. It doesn't mean you have to have it all, but you better know you can. With enough intention, enough focus, enough discipline, you better know that life can feel really good, really happy, even as you're working hard. I work super hard, but I'm super happy. Crazy. What an idea. But as you've built all these huge things throughout your career, how did you stay focused, especially in an industry, you were in the beauty industry. I don't know if that's the proper way to describe it. But how did you stay focused? Because clearly, as you get more successful, more people want to put things on your plate, more distractions come available, then social media comes out. And it's like, I mean, what are your practices for staying focused? I think people would be really fascinated by that.
Yeah, today I was thinking about this before we hopped on. Like today, I'm really having to implement tools on focus. And, maybe a lot of people live with us right now can relate to this. But even though I have a lot of distractions going on, like today, my biggest distraction, honestly, has been my own head, myself, right? How many times do we get in the way of ourself? And here's what I've been really practicing today, Brendan, already today, but then also over the years as well, is focusing on what I'm saying to myself and what I'm acknowledging. I started my morning off feeling super overwhelmed, literally almost in tears. And
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. What?
I did.
You're never overwhelmed.
I caught myself. No, it's like these things we say to ourselves, once we acknowledge them, I feel like we make them real. And we need to check ourselves. I had to check myself this morning when it comes to focus, because for a while I was focusing on I'm so overwhelmed and I'm so tired, right? Those are the things I was saying to myself. I'm like, oh, and all that did was perpetuate those feelings. And and I was like, yeah, but and I told myself, oh, but I'm so grateful. And this is a once in a lifetime week and all those things. I said that to myself, but I realized my real focus, and what I even was saying to Sarah this morning, my focus was, I'm tired. I'm so overwhelmed. We have 12 shows today. And I'm like, wait a minute. I was deliberately perpetuating not bringing the joy.
Right.
And I had to check
Good
myself.
distinction. That's a huge distinction.
Yeah. Well, and I realized my focus is just it's the things I don't want, the things I'm not even wanting to happen are getting bigger today. All because of my own head, not because of all the distractions around me, not because of any of that, right? And so it's all what I was choosing to focus on and actually say out loud in the case of today.
Yeah, your
So
self-talk becomes
yeah,
your self-concept, and your self-talk becomes your situation.
yes,
And so if it's like, oh, da, 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 that's why I'm always telling people, the thing to listen for in your voice and in your tone is always listen to, what are you bemoaning,
yeah,
right? What are you bemoaning? Oh, I got to do this commute. Oh, I got to do this email. Oh, I got to do this legal thing. And the more of those, oh, I have to do this, I don't want to do that, that focus,
yeah,
that self-talk makes you in ways build a mental prison
yes,
of in some ways victimhood, that I am,
yes,
these things, I have to do these things,
yeah,
when, as you mentioned earlier, like and I just know Jamie's like on purpose right now. Like she's on, for those who saw her last Monday or who read the book Believe It, she's in a flow. She's in a flow of service right now. And in that flow, one easy way we can all poison our flow, our focus, is when we start going, oh, and I have to do all these things. It's like, no, these things are all part of it. Those things all add to the whole. And so listen to your own tonality with yourself. Is like, when you bemoan it, beware. That's what I always say to myself. Oh, I'm bemoaning. Oh, beware, Brendan. You're gonna close off the flow. You're gonna close off your heart. You're gonna close off your ability to serve at higher levels of energy and frequency that people need. The more that you hate the process, the more the process goes, well, then I ain't gonna even know more progress.
Yeah, yeah, and even just focusing on the tough parts of the process, right? Like this morning, really, it was, I'm so tired. Like I started focusing on that and I feel like it literally magnified and took over my emotions, took over everything. And I had to check myself. Like I really did, in terms of even just what I focus on. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it might be true that I'm tired, but there's so many other things too. And I don't want to become more tired. And I think like when I caught myself focusing on that and feeling like, oh, and so, I decided I had to be super intentional this morning about, oh, no, I'm going to focus on I'm going to catch myself and say, if I do share those, if I do think those things, they're just going to perpetuate. You know what I mean? And I had to intentionally shift my focus. And I also was honestly, so sometimes so I'm in a hotel room, right? And I learned this lesson the hard way in life, that life's not meant to do alone. And so I intentionally hopped online this morning and started connecting and reading messages, crying my eyes out. Brendan, there is a single mom who started a book club with Believe It, and she did a whole post about it. And then she said, and if you're a single mom and want to join my book club and you can't afford to get your copy, I bought 2 extras and I'll send them to you. And I'm just sitting there sobbing, right? Like, so then I took all my author copies from the room next door. I had 10 author copies here that the publisher sent me, and I signed them all and like DM'd her. I'm like, where can I send these to you at? Give these.
That's awesome.
They can't afford to get a book. And it's like, I just shifted my focus this morning away from myself and,
Yes.
oh, I'm tired, because I don't want to magnify that. But we have to be intentional about this, right? Because it would have been way easier to just sit there and be like, oh, I'm tired. But it's like, oh, okay, I acknowledge that's what I'm focused on. I'm watching myself grow in my woe, like all the negative stuff I don't want to feel, because that's what I'm focused on. Let me shift my focus. Let me connect. Let me give. And let me do something bigger than myself, right? And listen, sometimes that can be, let me walk down the street and wave hi to somebody and tell them I see them. It could be that simple, right? Let me text someone who maybe feels alone. It could be that simple. Today, for me, it came in the form of, oh, wow, this person's story is so amazing, what she's doing. How can I serve
Yes.
her. And I had 10 author copies here from the publisher. So I literally signed them and literally am mailing them to her saying, can you give these to any single mom who can't afford to grab the book? And it snapped me out of the crap I was focused on for a hot minute. And like,
I love it.
Right? Refocus on the things I want to magnify, which is the feeling of goodness, of service, of aliveness, of feeling the day, right? Those kind of things. So
yeah. I love that. She used connection, right? So she started with connection, like, oh, let me look outside myself. Let me see who I can serve here. Let me see, you know, even if she went to DMing friends, or she went to, you know, sending audios or videos to people. Many of you guys know we always teach that in growth days, like, hey, send 5 encouraging voice texts or videos every day to friends or family or your customers, your teams, every day. It just gets you out of your head and into that. And then the second thing is generosity. Like, oh, I'm going to send these people a free book. I'm going to sign this thing. I'm going to help these people in this way. It's like, it shifts you. Like, the higher levels of frequency in your life are always going to come from service. They're always going to come from that like,
that's so
that
true.
generosity. It's like you want to turn on, like we do this. Hey, I can promise you guys, sometimes we do this morning show and we're like setting everything up, and we're talking through things as we're setting things up, and we're getting ready. And it's like, we're not like enthusiastic or turned on yet, if you will. And then we hit go, and now we go, oh, we can add some value here. Oh, this is gonna be fun. And I feel like when you put yourself in play where you can be generous or add value, it turns on your spirit. We hear it all the time from you guys in Growth Day. Our Growth Day members, like, wow, I finished that live session, I'm fired up. I finished that thing, I did my goals. I finished this, and it's just beautiful to see. And I just feel like we all have to remind ourselves that. Don't get stuck in your own thing. However, I will have to say responsibly, or people are going to give me a hard time. And that is this. Also listen to that truth.
Yeah.
When your body is saying, I am overwhelmed, I am tired.
Yeah.
Don't just run it over with positive thinking. Also go, I need to make an action plan.
Yeah.
To stop taking on so much that I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And to stop taking on so much that's compromising my sleep. Or I need to get support. Or I need to, it's like, hear it, acknowledge it, adjust an action plan for it, and then shift into the service. But I think it's important, don't run over that, because that is a signal from your body going, oh my God. Jamie.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage, Jamie Kern Lima!
Baby Kern Lima!
Every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.